Who else is on tonight? Anybody?
I believe Charlie will be coming on with a story or two.
Oh boy.
Um,
Well, he just had a show, so I'd assume you got to assume there's a story there somewhere.
well, and there was a little bit of drama leading up to the show.
Oh,
that
really?
He shared with me that I believe he's going to be sharing this evening, and it's a vintage Charlie.
It's vintage Charlie.
Oh, that's right. It's going to be very interesting. It is 7. I'm going to hit the button.
All right, cool.
What do we do? We have anything to play in with?
I didn't, but I can try and find something. Sure.
Should we do Charlotte?
Ms. Charlotte. Let me get to YouTube. Charlotte Flair theme. There we go.
Steve, look what it says on my lower third.
Yeah, I saw that. Very funny. Vince, you ready?
Yeah, as long as it's not going to play no, it's going to play a 6-second ad for some movie with a bunch of black people.
5, 4, 3.
Yep.
All right, I'm hitting the button. I gotta be honest. I wasn't hoping that we would be playing our show into this song this week.
I don't know how all of us missed this. I should have figured this out.
I blame Ryan. Vince McMahon knew that Ryan said I was flawless on the picks, and he last minute changed the finish.
Well, he did last minute change the finish.
Story.
But I don't know why the finish was ever in question. I don't know. I should have thought about it. Nobody ever wins in their hometown.
You know what? And I thought that, but then I was saying to myself, there's no way they're going to take the title from her 1 month in twice.
Say that.
You know, and well, here we are because Vince McMahon decided he wants to go ahead with the Bayley feud right away. Now,
right.
On one hand, okay, love Bayley and, love that she's getting, sent in to feud with Charlotte. On the other hand, so now we don't get rematches when we lose a title because if memory serves me correctly, Sasha is due a rematch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got the whole back injury thing to this and to that. I'm sure if they wanted to.
I'll tell you what, this is how I see this playing out.
They could figure a way out.
Sasha's going to be off TV for a little bit.
Right.
Okay. They're going to claim this whole back deal. They're going to build on this Bayley-Charlotte feud, which is going to go, my guess is going to be probably the Rumble. Okay?
Okay.
Now, let's say the Rumble's over. Now they go one of two ways. Okay? Either they build on, mind you, whenever this feud finishes, the absolute ending of the feud, not, the beginning, the end of the feud, Bayley wins the title.
Okay.
Then they start to build either one of two ways. Sasha Bayley rematch at WrestleMania, rematch from their NXT match, or triple threat, Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley, and I think Sasha reclaims the title at Mania and gives her her Mania moment.
Well, wouldn't that be nice if Sasha actually was able to,
I mean, listen, to be honest, dude, the only other thing to me is if they don't do that, then somebody lost faith in Sasha.
Yeah, that's very possible that's happened. But I don't understand why. If anything, the last couple times and this last match was okay, and we'll get into the Hell in a Cell in a second, but I don't know. When I watch those two girls, neither of them I'd put them up there as good wrestlers, but I wouldn't put them ahead of many of the guys. I'd probably rank Sasha higher than Charlotte for the most part. Charlotte's gotten better, and she's only going to get better with time. But
you know what it is? Charlotte is great in the ring. Nobody can question that. To me, she still sounds like a robot when she cuts her promos.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue.
And I don't really
and
understand
it's a total,
it.
not to be like, not quote Lex Luger, but the wrestlers have to be the total package. You have to be able to talk and wrestle and have the look. She's got 2 of the 3, which is great, but that also means that Rick was filling a hole for her.
Well, but
She'll need a guy
that's
like
the thing,
Heyman
though.
maybe to
How
fill
do
a
you
hole
have a father like Flair who was so great on the mic? Like, how did you not get that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm just, this is a really, really bad assumption based on just meeting a couple of the Flairs, including the deceased Reed Flair. They're all shy. Rick's the only fucking outgoing one of them. They're all shy. And,
that's amazing to me. And Charlotte doesn't come across that way.
I think it's because he's such a big personality. I almost feel like it's one of those things where, like, like if your dad's at your baseball game and he's yelling at the umpire, you don't want to be, you kind of shrink. I could see Rick being like the center of attention a lot of places where they went, whether it was your basketball game or your football game or your, school function where you're supposed to be the focus, and then there's fucking Ric Flair in the crowd. So maybe it might be a response to rather than be as outlandish or as outgoing as him, maybe they became more reserved. But again, like I said, I've only had brief interactions, and my phone is on volume. I'm sorry. Here we go. Kat said she's not getting into the link.
I don't know.
There should be I'd say copy and paste it again. She'll get in eventually. She said she'll keep trying. Good. We'll work backwards, I guess, from the Hell in a Cell here. There were a couple hinky, weird things to me in that women's Hell in a Cell match. First of all, they spent the first 10 minutes of the match recreating Mick Foley Undertaker without the 30-foot drop.
Right.
And there were a couple spots and they also spent a lot of the time outside of the ring. My roommate, who he watches wrestling, and now we have another friend that watches, and we played 2K16, so he knows the wrestlers. He's pretty familiar with the show, but he doesn't sit down and watch Raw for 3 hours. He's watching the football game in his room. He comes out and goes, "Those girls get in the fucking ring yet?" And I'm like, "Nope." So for an outsider to say that, somebody who just as a casual viewer, I didn't really particularly care for the drawn out sequence, especially the long ass stretcher job. The other thing that I thought was a little weird, and I'm not going to shit on this match because it was a good match. The one thing that I thought was weird was on the outside of the ring, Sasha did the Spider-Man climb, but then she had to climb down so Charlotte could powerbomb her through the table. And it was like you could tell that everybody was waiting for Sasha to climb down far enough for Charlotte to grab her and put her through the table. So that was just a really and I know there's nothing you can do about it, but if she didn't jump up as far, if she didn't jump as high up on the cage or climb as high up on the cage, it would have been an easier grab for Charlotte. I realized I look like an old lady in my bathrobe with my hot chocolate. I can assure you that there's peppermint flavored vodka in here.
Nice.
It tastes like a candy cane. It tastes like Andy's candy or a York peppermint patty.
Did you get the sensation?
I'm getting, and with the vodka, I'm definitely getting the sensation. So the women's match was good. I think the wrong person went over. I thought there were a few spots that were weird, especially
the finish was weird.
Thank you,
It was very
Steve.
abrupt.
Yes, out of nowhere, as you might say.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, I'm not happy with the result as far as who won. It was a great match. I don't want people to get me wrong. I don't agree with the result, but what I'm pissed off the most at, in my opinion, is why give Sasha the title last month if you're going to just take it away? I hate hot potato with the title. I hate it. And I understand they're just props, but they shouldn't be treated as props. They're still, I know kayfabe is all but dead, but I'm just saying, treat it a little with somewhat prestige. I'm sorry. look at Edge. He's how many times is he world champion? But how many of those reigns really matter when all of them add up to maybe what, a year or two, tops?
He deserved better.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
I deserve longer reigns because
I hate playing hot potato with the title, and it just makes it look stupid. Like, just keep it on Charlotte the whole fucking year, then. If you're gonna,
I want to say it was 2006. Was that 2006 that Edge and John Cena traded the title like 10 times?
I have to believe that there's a bigger picture here.
Yeah,
you know, that there's something down the line for Sasha. You know, like that's my. I don't know.
And you know, and another thing is. And Michael Cole said this like right after the match was over. Charlotte has this pay-per-view win record now, this kind of streak going. So I think maybe they wanted to just keep that going.
She's got a pay-per-view streak, but then Charlotte's got the Raw streak. So that might be the storyline they're going after. Is Sasha can close on Raw and Charlotte can't, but then Charlotte closes on the big matches in the pay-per-view and fucking Sasha can't.
Yeah, I guess that's the case.
But I agree with you, Eric, because it's a prop, correct. However, the Maltese Falcon was a prop. The big fucking diamond in Ocean's 11 was a prop. People still wanted the diamond. Within the universe of Ocean's 11, that diamond was pretty fucking important. It wasn't just like, oh, we're going to take it and oh, fucking... George Clooney lost it. Oh no, Brad Pitt shoved it up his ass. No, they didn't do that shit, man. It's like, you know, fucking Bernie Mac didn't get covered in green slime opening up a briefcase that had the goddamn diamond in it. You know what I mean? They treated the main goal. If you're watching a film or a television show and there's an objective, if it's a heist movie or a sports film or whatever it is, there's an objective. A person or a team or a group of people have to be overcome, and it's usually a plucky underdog or some kind of story like that. But you understand the importance of it because the characters within the movie make that thing important.
Yeah, look, with wrestling, I understand. I'm an adult, and I watch it maybe in a different way. I'm a little more cynical. I wish I wasn't. However, I also watch wrestling to kind of get away from reality, to get into wrestling's reality, no matter how obscure it is, and just to get away from things and just, you know, get sucked into it, you know, sucked into the story, just like a movie.
If you ever tried to explain to somebody who's never seen it before what the New Day is, just think about that for a second. You try and explain the New Day. Try and explain Kane and The Undertaker's last 20 years in the WWF, because guess what? If you go back far enough, this shit is all intertwined. Kane and The Undertaker bounce back and forth. They team up. They turn on each other, burn somebody's house down, cover someone in cement, throw them in a meat locker, bury them in a sewer, whatever the fuck. But this story just goes. And you can go back, even from Kane, corporate Kane, you can trace your way back to, that's gotta be Kane, right at the fucking Hell in a Cell. You can go all the way back. And you're right. There's a universe there, and there's a mythology there that as an adult you appreciate because it's a mythology, but when you're a child, you think it's real, and you appreciate it for a different reason then.
Yeah, it's just a little...
It's the way you, and I understand it's the way you watch, and it's the way I watch too, because imagine if Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, and he like held the trophy up, was like, hey, all right, and he just kind of put it back on the table and was like, everybody go to Papa John's, and then that was it. It's not much of a speech. You're like all that hard work and sacrifice, fucking 16 weeks of the regular season and more playoffs and all that, and neck injuries and surgeries. It meant something. When he won, you know, if he wins the Super Bowl, if anybody wins the Super Bowl, it fucking means something, and they're excited to do it because it took hard work. And you can't just have people shrug off, well, I'm okay with losing the title because in 3 weeks Vince said I'm going to get it back at the pay-per-view. You know, it's really what it feels like. Is they're okay with losing because they know they're going to get another fucking title shot in 2 weeks.
It's from November, and I know this is the Attitude Era. I know it's sacred and all, you know, whatever. But from November 98 to November 99, the title changed hands 13 fucking times. And that's ridiculous. I know there was the Rock Mankind thing, and that was cool and all, but you had some the unnecessary Undertaker run and the Vince McMahon run, and some bullshit like that. I know it was the Attitude Era, and that was great and all, but still, that's a lot. Like hell, WCW is even worse than 2000. That title changed hands like 20 something times that year.
Yeah, that was 23 times, I think.
You might as well make it the fucking hardcore title with the 24/7 rule at this point,
Seriously.
But you brought up the New Day. I want to give props to the New Day for last night. Their Halloween costumes, man.
That was hilarious.
How awesome was that?
Vince, did you get to see that?
I actually was helping trick-or-treaters and all that stuff on Monday night. I saw the New Day's costumes. I saw the opening Goldberg segment, but I was doing Halloween-y stuff like yesterday.
It was very funny.
But I appreciate that they were all characters of Charles Wright. They were all the Godfather Shango and Kama, the ultimate fighting machine, Kama Mustafa. I love that gimmick. The problem is that gimmick was about 10 years ahead of its time.
Yeah, true.
Kevin Nash was talking about it once.
Kama, but still.
Yeah, no, what happened was with Charles, with his Kama character, Charles legit lives in Las Vegas. I actually talked to him about this too, because he lives. It's real fascinating to talk to somebody who lives in Las Vegas. It's a whole fucking different world, and we know from Charlie, it's a whole different world out there. But he lived in Vegas, and the UFC in 96, 97 was just starting out, and they were fucking red hot. They had Ken Shamrock in there and all those guys, Hoist Gracie, et cetera, Dan Severn. And he was aware because they were running the events in Las Vegas, and it was very, very popular in Las Vegas. So he brought this onto the main roster, thinking it was going to get over a gangbusters like it did in Vegas, but it was regional at that point. If you had a shoot fighter character like that come in nowadays, it's a different story. You have guys like Matt Riddle, who went from the UFC to the Monster Factory. You've got Cold Steel, Chuck O'Neil, wrestles for Northeast Wrestling, XWA, Beyond Wrestling. You've got guys who are crossing over. These and Dirty Dickinson, Chris Dickinson, is a pro wrestler. Now he's crossing over into MMA. So you've got guys who are now competing in both. So Charles, the Godfather, was just a little bit ahead of his time on this one.
He made a lot of characters work, though, which is
he's really, the thing is, he's such a laid-back guy, and I've only worked with him like 4 or 5 times, but he's such a laid-back guy, willing to do anything. I don't know if you guys were there for one of these shows, but he actually did a tag team match with Vlad.
No, I wasn't there for that.
All right, so this was probably 2013, maybe. Vlad's wrestling a tag team match with the Godfather, and they won. And because they won, the Godfather got 3 ladies to get in the ring and dance with Vlad.
That's hilarious.
To his to the Ho Train music. It was the best. And that is all available streaming on the NEW network for only $9.99 a month.
Cheap plug.
Speaking of Vlad, did you see his Halloween costume?
Yo, that was fucking
hilarious.
He was Sherman Klump. That's awesome.
He was Sherman Klump, and then he had his skinny friend playing the other version of Sherman Klump.
Play Buddy Love, yeah.
Oh my god.
That was so awesome.
Hilarious.
That was spot on. And then I saw a family. I don't know if I shared it on my face. Yes, I did. It was a whole family. They did the entire cast of Coming to America.
Yes, I saw that.
I love those kind of Halloween costumes. I was Jon Snow. A lot of people got it. The kid who dressed like Trump came by. Had to take a picture with him. He was like, "You're the king," and I'm like, "You're the king." Halloween was fun, so I didn't get to see Raw, but I did. Like I said, I went back and made a point to watch Goldberg. Now, you guys made a big deal out of him tripping. It wasn't that big of a trip.
Well, wait. Let's not get this twisted. I was not a part of that. I didn't even comment because I thought people went a little overboard on that.
Did you see the botch? Oh, come on, Kat.
I mean, it was a botch. Karen. Well, listen, it was a botch, 100%. Yeah. But he recovered very quickly and gracefully, I have to say.
He got right back up, and they sold it as Rusev trying to take him down, which kind of worked.
And I'll tell you this, Paul Heyman takes a spear as well as Vince McMahon takes a stunner.
Oh my God, he fell like a goddamn sack of spuds, didn't he?
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
It was like watching a building fall in slow motion. It was wonderful. Like he fell in a way that you would never fall being hit the way he got hit.
Yeah, it was too funny.
But overall, Goldberg. Oh, that's the happiest I've been watching a wrestling clip in fucking years. Was watching Goldberg walk through the back and make his entrance on Raw a couple weeks ago.
I am so super fucking pumped for Goldberg, dude.
Last night was awesome for me. Like, and I can't believe like Heyman took a spear. I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think Heyman now is much older than when he took, a rock bottom. So, I'm thinking, I don't know if he's going to take too many bumps, but he took it.
Right. Jesus.
And Rusev was like the perfect foil for that.
Yeah.
Too.
And Rusev is a big guy, and you look at Goldberg going, oh wow, he can lift up Rusev. Brock's bigger than Rusev, but Rusev's still not the small. Rusev's one of the bigger guys on the roster, so you got to think, they thought that through. They're like, people can mentally size up Rusev and Lesnar and Goldberg and go, wow, maybe he's got a shot. I think he's got a shot. I don't know if he's going to get over or not, but I hope he wins. Like, honestly, at this point, who's going to beat Brock Lesnar? Are we going to wait a whole another year to watch Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar?
I mean, dude, how does Goldberg come back after 12? Well, listen, I said the same thing about Sting, so let me stop right where I am.
Yeah, but Sting didn't win.
Well, I was going to say, how does Goldberg not win? But I said the same thing about Sting, and he lost.
Goldberg won the first match, so that tells me that Brock's going to win this one.
I feel like that's what they're setting up, yeah. And that's fine because long-term Brock, even though he's a part-timer, is still going to be around longer than part-timer Goldberg, who's at best one match, maybe two.
I still think that Goldberg's going to wrestle at least one more time after this.
I would love it if Goldberg made it to WrestleMania this year. Not in the title match, but like he shows up at the Royal Rumble, fucking Bray Wyatt knocks him out of the ring. The Wyatt family's gonna dominate, and Goldberg comes back in and spears some fucking guys, and then boom, you got a fucking Goldberg Bray Wyatt match, and Bray Wyatt loses to everybody at WrestleMania, so he can put on a hell of a match with Goldberg and lose at WrestleMania. I guess
what's the difference at this point?
He's my fucking favorite wrestler, and should have been world champion about 6 different times now. And fuck it.
He's the one that's easiest to book, and they don't know how to fucking book him.
Like, you got the second Undertaker coming up here, and you're just like, nah, I don't know what to do with this guy.
The whole thing pisses me off. I just don't get it at all.
I was there at WrestleMania 30. The whole thing is ridiculous. And I hate to laugh, but think about this. It's in New Orleans. The Wyatt family is advertised from Louisiana. They have a fucking voodoo band playing them to the ring with voodoo dancer girls that look like Roxy Laveau from TNA, and they were doing their little gypsy dance, and they had fire and everything else. And then John Cena just comes out and beats the shit out of him. The crowd is singing, he got the whole world in, and they were hot as fuck for Bray Wyatt. And nope. Hustle, loyalty, respect. Ridiculous.
Let's get on to the rest of the card for Hell in a Cell, because there were some other good matches and stuff, and some matches
I went into that pay-per-view with low expectations.
Which one?
I went into the Hell in a Cell with very low expectations, just because I don't know. I hadn't been watching a lot of Raw. I didn't know. There was this question about who was going on last and what the main event was going to be, and holy shit, like, they pulled off a really good show from I don't want to say nothing because that's not true. It was a good show, but you know how it could go with the Bullet Club and Enzo and Cass. That could go either way, and there are a couple matches on that card that can go either way, and they all went the right way. I think. I don't really remember I was watching the whole night. I don't really remember a bad match.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the whole pay-per-view. I just didn't agree with some of the finishes.
Yeah, the standout was the Universal title match, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think they might be backing off this whole T.J. Perkins experiment.
I love the way Kendrick won. I love it.
I love everything about Kendrick.
Mind games. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything very heelish. He just played on the heartstrings, you know.
And then I love that he commented on it on the after show. He's like, I didn't need him to lose,
and there's this
to lay down for me.
Did they tease some kind of confrontation between him and Booker, or was that just for that?
I haven't seen that followed up from what I've, I guess yesterday there was something else. They did.
It wasn't like a Ms. Ziggler thing, So.
No, I think it was just a one-time thing because they continued the TJP thing Monday night. But I don't know. Does this end with him getting the title back, or does this end with fucking Rich Swann or Cedric Alexander getting a title shot? And we've got a heel that all the baby faces can chase. Because what are you going to do? You're going to turn Cedric heel, or are you going to turn TJ heel to feud with Rich Swann, or are you going to, the situation with a babyface champion in a babyface heavy division is odd.
But now that Kendrick's heel, so he's got a lot of face challengers, which should be fun.
Exactly. But do you think they bump TJP down? Because they shot him to the moon right away. So I don't know what's next.
I don't really care for TJ Perkins, to be honest. Like the character, like
right.
Whatever that
sucks. The whole video game thing. I mean, listen, I'm into video games, and I think it sucks.
Yeah, but the real problem is they beat this shit to death. And let me explain. They brought up Eddie Guerrero every single time they talked about Sasha Banks the past 3 weeks.
Very true.
And every time TJP comes out, they're like, "Oh my God, did you know that TJ Perkins, like millions of other people, plays video games? Did you know that he was homeless one time? He lived out of his car. He was trained by Brian Kendrick. Did you know that Relic is killer spelled backward?"
Right. I mean, look, they don't focus on the fact that Swan was homeless at one point too, but they don't focus on that for him.
Racist.
Rich Swann, he's like the cruiserweight version of the Junkyard Dog. You know what I mean? Like he's that very popular face that's gonna.
I get that. That's great.
I thought that was a good.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Right. I mean, JYD. I'll say this: if it wasn't for Hogan tearing it up in WWF, if Hogan wasn't there, JYD would be a pretty good candidate for top champion. I mean, he was the Hulk Hogan of Mid-South,
Yeah. And yeah, there wasn't
him up. Hogan was dominating, and JYD was a little older, so it wasn't,
Right. And here's the thing, though. Nowadays, those marathon Hulk Hogan runs wouldn't happen. So in the modern era, you take that cast of characters in the modern era, Roddy Piper wins the world title 4 times. Junkyard Dog wins the world title 3 times. You know what I mean? Mr. Perfect is a 2-time champion. You know what I mean? The way that they book wrestling now, because instead of booking fucking SummerSlam to WrestleMania or Rumble, whatever, they had a longer schedule to do it. They only had 4 pay-per-views. They stretched the shit out. Saturday night's main event was really the only TV they had. So they stretched it out. National TV that they had. They had local TV, but they really had to stretch storylines out, which is why a Hulk Hogan reign could last for 4 years, because you could take that show to different house shows, and nobody knows that Hogan and King Kong Bundy wrestled the exact same match last night in Altoona that they're doing tonight in Scranton and that they're doing tomorrow night in Wilkes-Barre. It's the same match, but nobody saw it because it wasn't on a phone. It wasn't on YouTube. Nobody got a clip of it and tweeted it. Nobody's, you can't pirate the shit. It wasn't on Monday Night Raw. They didn't give the match away on Raw, so they didn't want to see it at the house show. Everything was fresh because really it was less eyes on the product. So you enticed people to come in because they had to be paying customers in order to see your product. It's different nowadays. So you'd have that people would get sick of Hogan in 8 months. They'd Roman Reigns the shit out of Hulk Hogan, and they'd be like, "Oh no, I don't want Hulk Hogan to be the champion anymore. We need Roddy Piper. He's a heel. He's cool." That would be the exact opposite of what they experienced in the 80s.
And so like Swan would be like that type of character, but I would see Cedric as getting the title before Rich Swann does.
for very selfish personal reasons and because I like Cedric so much, I hope that's true. I also hope that they realize that he can be an asset outside of the cruiserweight division.
Oh yeah,
and maybe give him a shot at like the U.S. title or something. Not when Roman Reigns has it, but when Roman Reigns goes through, Roman Reigns is gonna get out of this funk one way or another, this mid-card funk. He's either gonna get shot back into the main event or fizzle or whatever. But eventually Roman Reigns isn't gonna have the U.S. title anymore, and that really, depending on who has the title, you could bring in different guys at different sizes and that have different styles. Because right now, if you have Roman Reigns as the U.S. champion, he really can only feud with guys that do power moves. So you got your fucking guys like, who are some other U.S. title contenders, like a fucking Neville. Like, you can't have him go up against Roman Reigns. It's just, a size thing. He's got to match up with the contenders size-wise for it to even be believable.
And then you got guys like Sami Zayn who could believably get into the cruiserweight division as well, but still keep in the mid card, Yeah,
I wonder what's going to happen with that guy Sami Zayn. They promised or teased and then pulled back that whole Braun Strowman thing with him. It hasn't come to fruition yet, right?
Steve, I don't remember. Did Braun win that battle royal?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah, Braun won the battle. He threw everybody out.
So he's on the team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's on there.
He said to Foley, "I'm gonna give me some competition, or I'm gonna destroy your whole roster right now."
Hey, man.
No, the funniest part of that promo was Mick Foley saying, "You think intimidation is going to get you where you need to go or whatever," and Mick Foley's like, "Well, it's working," Or yeah, so
he did the same thing with the Brothers of Destruction like 15 years ago, but still, it works the same. It's still funny.
Oh yeah, he has to dust off the classics. It's like Jerry. Jerry has to tell the same like 6 jokes every show.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be Jerry. Same thing with Mick.
What the fuck was Byron wearing?
What the fuck was that?
Yo, please, can we not talk about him? Because here's the problem. I've never met the guy. I'm sure he's a really nice guy. But all I want to do whenever I see him is punch him in the face. Like, he just has that fucking face.
He makes Michael Cole look cool by comparison. And that's sad.
He makes Michael Cole look black by comparison.
And on the other hand, Corey Graves was rocking the David Pumpkins outfit, which I didn't understand what was the thing until recently.
Corey Graves is way more hip than anybody on that show deserves.
He's
the most hip person on the show.
It's really too bad that he can't wrestle anymore, because he really was going to be one of the guys on NXT,
Yeah.
And the way he presents himself, like, he's made like a career like comeback almost, where I know he can't wrestle, but he's managed to stay there and stay relevant and get better every day, and he's a real asset.
Yeah, I feel like with the injury that happened to him, they missed out on a potential, I don't want to say universal champion or world champion, but it's a solid fucking Roddy Piper level guy.
I think he could have been at least a main eventer in NXT.
Oh yeah, because he had the promo skills to sell you either way, babyface or heel, and he had that look. He's got a look that and I know it's kind of maybe nowadays it's a cliched look with the fucking fade and the side part and all the tattoos and the high-waisted or the high-rise fucking clam digger pants and all that shit. Like, I know it's kind of a cliche that people dress like that, but really he's the only person on the show that really dresses like that. He's the only person within the WWE universe of the fiction there that has that kind of sense of style. Nobody else has that fucking gimmick that he's got. That's unique. If they ever wanted to take him off of commentary and put him as a goddamn manager for somebody, now that would be an interesting proposition.
His commentary reminds me of Jesse Ventura in that does root for the heels for the most part, but can still, side with a face when the time comes.
Right. He will acknowledge that the face is doing well, and he'll also he can also acknowledge when a heel is doing something that they shouldn't have done. He would go, well, if I were, if it were me in that match, I would have done this, because he's got that credibility of having the indie background and then the NXT background. What if he had a Heenan family that was like Charlotte and a couple mid-card guys? You know what I mean? Like, I think he has the mouth, because you can take a bunch of guys that can't cut a promo. Like, think of a couple. Charlotte's one of them. She came the first hit came to mind.
The roster, really.
Yeah. So you take a couple guys, you make one a singles guy, two a tag team, and you've got Charlotte. And you've got a fucking 5-person stable. You've got a manager that's a mouthpiece. These guys never need to talk if they don't have to. And you
call it the graveyard.
The graveyard. Oh my God, we're writing TV for these fucking people. That's beautiful. That's better than anything that I.
Not just the hat rack, my friend.
Halloween's influencing you, but it's okay. But it's good. It's I think, like I said, he could transition from television host or commentator to something a little.
He has the talent to do it, definitely.
If they gave him the, and I don't know what the nature of his injury is in terms of like how he is now. Like, is it a hazard for him to be at ringside? Like, if he had to take a bump, could he take a bump, or would it be like Edge, where you shouldn't take a bump because you're going to get crippled? Because if that's the reason they're keeping him at commentary, I get to keep him at commentary. But if he can, and I'm not saying he has to get involved, but if you're ringside. I've been ringside. I'm not involved in any of the matches. I'm still fucking sore. You get banged around. It just happens. So if he can't take those kind of bumps without a serious medical problem, I could see keeping him away from ringside. But I mean, he could really, I think he would have the potential to have a really good stable. And then he could feud with people like, the Wyatts. He could be babyface, or they could be heel, and then the Wyatts could be babyface. He could feud with the fucking New Day, and they'd be easy heels for the New Day to be babyfaces against. I mean, there's just little shit like that you could do if you took him away from commentary. But then, who do you put there? You have another fucking nerd in there.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem. Who do you replace?
Maybe Tom.
I like
Phillips.
Tom.
I like Tom. Yeah. Who's and then not Otunga. Could you imagine a show that was
Otunga needs to fucking go.
Here's the trio for you, Steve. David Tunga, Byron Saxton, Michael Cole calling 3 hours of Monday Night Raw.
Holy schmoly.
It may possibly make me stop watching.
I'd watch it on mute at least.
I'm just saying.
But that's the trouble you have with bumping Corey up to like that kind of thing. Right.
I think he's perfect for the role he's in.
I like Renee Young when she's on commentary every once in a while.
She's good. I mean, she's another one. She could do whatever the fuck she wanted. They're lucky she grew up a wrestling fan. Because if she grew up a fan of the nightly news, or she grew up a fan of football, or whatever the fuck, she'd be there. She'd be on CNN or ESPN or NBC Nightly News or 48 Hours or some shit like that. She would be a big name somewhere because she's a fucking broadcaster.
And she's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Just a good attitude, good personality.
She's hot.
Yeah, it's the total package, Lex Luger.
Keep her away from him.
Oh, boo.
Boo. Oh, sorry. It was an open.
I was listening to the OSW Review podcast, the latest one that they put out, and they mentioned the Nasty Boys. And there was some story about the Nasty Boys in a bar or something like that, and I was listening to it. I almost sent them a message on Twitter. I was going to tag OSW Review and be like, hey, guys, you should ask my friend Steve, and then tag you about the time that the Nasty Boys wanted to tag team his wife.
Never got
that far, Vince. Thank you very much. There was just a little grabbage of the ass.
And remember, the next time that happens is good.
You're damn right.
Oh, man. They wanted to go to Titty City. Oh, boo. What else happened on Raw last night aside from Goldberg? Anything important or you know?
You know, here's the thing. They started with Goldberg, so they started off with a bang, and everybody was super fucking pumped. And then nothing could really compete with it. I mean, they had Enzo was in a Halloween trick-or-treat street fight against was it Gallows? I think it was Gallows, right?
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
Against Gallows.
Big Gal.
So first of all, Enzo and Cass come out. Enzo comes out as Buzz Lightyear, and Cass comes out as Woody. So they do their whole shtick and cut their promo with that. It was fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen it, it's worth going and watching it.
And then they wrestled in their Buzz Lightyear and Woody costumes.
Well, so Cass was ringside. It was
Okay.
1-on-1. But yes, he did wrestle in his Buzz Lightyear wings. And there were a lot of pumpkins around the ring, so those got involved. Like, they were throwing pumpkins at each other and shit. It was hilarious. And Enzo got the win, so that was cool. Other than that, so Jericho, there was a segment with Foley, Jericho, and Owens. And Jericho, as always, is just a home run. And the list and everything else is just hilarious. But it wound up being Jericho reigns for the title in the main event. And that ended as everyone would expect it to. It DQ.
Oh
and, and then they kind of teased a Shield reunion because Rollins came in for the save, and then they kind of stared each other down, but kind of like gave each other the nod, you know.
And then the fans started chanting "Shield."
Right, the fans went fucking apeshit.
Well, yeah, you're in Hartford and you're teasing the reunion of the Shield. That's gonna happen. This is a wrestling town.
Yeah.
Yeah. And God, Chris Jericho is a fucking chameleon, man. He reinvents himself constantly. He knows when he gets stale as a face and he turns heel at the right time. And everything he does is just awesome.
The only gimmick that I never liked from him was the one where he'd stand out there and everybody would clap and then he'd just walk away. That was just I was not into that because he had this whole doomsday thing kind of with the promos with the little girl, creepy little girl and all that shit.
Yeah.
And you thought it was going to culminate in something, and then he just comes out and he's Guy Smiley, takes a couple laps around the ring and then fucks off.
I thought that was hysterical, though.
It's just like there's no resolution. Like
and then he didn't even get into the match, and he left. And the other two are like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah, and then you're kind of left holding the bag. You're like, "Oh, I guess we're going to commercial."
But for 20 plus years, Chris Jericho's been killing it.
Oh yeah,
Jericho's the shit.
Now, what are they setting up for the women now? Is it Bailey coming up? Is that really the direction they've picked?
She lost to
100%.
Nia Jax last night.
That was Vince's call. He wants to start that now. So they cut a promo. Basically, Bailey's going to be on the team for the women's match. So Charlotte was kind of calling her out as the weak link, and put her in a match against Nia Jax. And Jax beat her, that kind of thing. So they're starting that already.
I was just thinking, the Bailey to Belly, as ridiculous of a name that is. Is that an arm trap, belly to belly? Like she grabs one of the girl's arms in?
Yeah.
Okay, she does. That's good. I was going to say maybe she could do like a hammerlock belly to belly. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Bailey to belly, but it could be one of her moves.
I got to say, dude, I love Bailey, so this is not a knock on anything she does.
No.
But the belly to belly's got to go as a finisher.
See, I thought...
If anything, that should be a signature, the prelude to what your finish is going to be. To me, a belly to belly... it's
right.
belly to belly. You know what I'm saying?
It's a suplex. Yeah. Nowadays, it shouldn't be enough.
Unless she does it off the top rope, that could be a finisher. But,
Yeah.
Well, that's
that's
a super
dangerous.
belly
Yeah.
to belly.
Right. There you go. But maybe my idea would work then, she could use a hammerlock belly to belly. Like she puts a hammerlock on the person and belly suplexes them so they quote unquote land on their arm. And then she does like a fucking Kimura or something, or an arm, she can't use the arm bar, but she uses a Kimura or the Brock lock or whatever the fuck. She could use some kind of wrist lock or whatever. And that would be the belly to belly would be the setup to like, the wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man tap out, whatever the fuck they call it.
What about a Spanish armbar?
Could you imagine that, though? They really called it the wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man submission because when you put the submission on the person, their arms flail like the inflatable arm flailing tube man.
And we're passing the savings on to you.
Yo! Yeah, we just went deep. God, we went back about 10 years. Hey, Ryan, you're back again.
Yeah,
Two of you.
I see two Ryans.
I see one giving a fist pump with Zack Ryder and one wearing, I think, an Eagles sweater. Is that right?
Can you hear me?
Kind of.
He's multiplying.
You're multiple. Yeah, you're very low volume BTW.
I got Ryans. They're multiplying.
Wonderful.
I guess I disproved my theory. It said that more than one of me would collapse the universe.
Oh, Jesus. Ryan, yeah. Now that you're here, did you guys see? I posted it up on Facebook, but I'm really excited about the 3-pack of the New Day Funko Pops with the unicorn horns. Oh man. And you can only get it at Toys R Us, and it was back order, and I had to wait like a month after I ordered it. They all look like the fucking New Day. Austin Creed, Xavier, has the fucking Francesca with him. I don't know if it's Francesca or Francesca 2. And all of them are wearing unicorn horns. And Kofi's got his hair like Kofi. And everybody just, the characters for little bobblehead figures look like them. And it's fucking great.
That's awesome. I have to say, I don't know if you guys have the game or not, but the one thing I discovered, I was playing a match with my created guy, and I was fighting Woods. Or no, Big E. But Woods was in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And Woods not only came out with Francesca, but throughout the match would be playing Francesca, New Day Rocks, that kind of thing. Fucking hilarious.
That's
a
nice...
Like they really made you
That's
have to check this game.
That's some good attention to detail.
Really is, yeah.
It's awesome. The game is just fucking great. So
look at that Ryan face, just chilling out there, the frozen Ryan face.
And then he sends a message, my connection's all fucked up tonight. No kidding.
No shit. Yeah. Wagga wagga.
So I thought we were going to get a little story time with Charlie this evening, but no dice. Cat couldn't get on.
Right. Now tell me something, because I unfortunately not unfortunately because I made money, but I was booked Friday and Saturday night DJing Halloween parties. And I wasn't able to go to North Carolina, so I missed out on the experience. I didn't know if anybody went or heard about stuff. I know you said that there was a story that Charlie was going to tell you. I know you don't have to spoil that, but in general, did you hear anything from Charlie about what went down?
Yeah, so the show was a humongous success. They sold well over 1,000 seats. They wound up having standing room only towards the end because they just didn't have enough chairs. They even went back to Ziggy's to get more chairs, and they ran out of those.
Wow.
So huge show. Apparently, it was absolutely fantastic. People raved about it. So yeah, and Sting brought the house down, and
great.
Charlie had a real successful show. So big ups to Gimmick Tree Entertainment for rocking down North Carolina. Unfortunately, we couldn't get there, but we will be with Charlie at WrestleCade, and the new Tag Me Date dating site should be full blown running within a week. We have a massive amount of changes, a massive amount. I've already started playing with it a little bit. it's the real deal. I mean, it's everything you would want in a dating site. It's going to be there, so we're very excited for
That's wonderful.
the new beginnings for Take Me to Date. It's going to be awesome.
I'm very glad to hear that. Now, I'm gonna be booking my flight soon for WrestleMania, so just keep an eye out. You know, on I don't know if we have what you guys' plans are. I know Eric, you were on the fence about going now that you got a new car. Steve, I know you were trying to go for the WrestleCon thing, and I think that starts on Thursday. So we just gotta connect about whatever the plan is for that.
Yeah, I got to figure it out and see if I'm going to be.
Because I mean, I know I'm gonna be there at least Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I don't know about Thursday or earlier than that.
Okay, I don't even know what's going to happen at this point. I got to see what I'm gonna. We've invested a lot of money into the upgrades and everything else. I got to see. You know, we got to work it out. Plus, I'm trying to plan a trip for the kids to Disney, which is gonna.
Oh Jesus, there you go.
Which is like it's like a college tuition.
Oh, I know. Listen, man, I had a girlfriend a couple of years ago who really wanted me to go with her to Disney Thanksgiving week.
Oh, fucking man.
With her family. And I'm like, well, what about my family? They're going to be at Thanksgiving at home. Yeah, but you get to see the fucking Thanksgiving Disney change over from Thanksgiving to Christmas overnight. And like, that's magical and wonderful, but I'm not 6. So, you know, I don't need this kind of shit in my life. Needless to say, that relationship did not last very long.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Disney. But
right. I'm sure it's a fun time, man. I've been to Universal, and I've been to a couple different Busch Gardens. I've been to SeaWorld.
Have you never been to Disney?
I've never been to Disney.
Oh, dude. I mean,
I'm going to be in Orlando.
Dude, Disney's the shit. I mean,
the only thing that bugged me was I went to Orlando in 06, 05, and the day that I was in Universal, they weren't having a TNA taping. I was so pissed. I wanted to go to a TNA taping so bad, and it would have been back in their fucking glory days with like Monty Brown and America's Most Wanted and all those guys. Oh, still bugs me to this day. Anyway,
if you ever get a chance, bro, you gotta go. It's an experience. It's how
discounted ticket.
People say, oh, it's like the happiest place in the world, and like yeah, whatever. Like, no joke, it truly is the happiest place. Like, there's nobody ever upset, angry. Like, it's just the most amazing thing. And it's
what they did for your son.
What?
Look what they did for Derek, right? They made a great day for him.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. It was so we surprised Derek. God, must have been 3 years ago now. And we took him to Disney, and it was his birthday. So we let them know that it was his birthday, and they gave him this sticker to wear that said it was his birthday. And I'm telling you, we must have gotten stopped 500,000 times, and not only by Disney staff, but random people. Just, hey, happy birthday, Derek. Hey, happy. Like, the kid was like a fucking king for the day. You know, it was really cool. Cool. And then he got free desserts everywhere we went, and you got, I mean, it was just amazing. So the funny thing is, he was smart enough to keep the sticker on the entire trip. So everywhere we went,
oh, look at that guy.
A whole week he was pimping. It was hilarious.
Man.
And your daughter on the teacups is priceless too.
Yeah, that was good too. She was so tiny she doesn't remember it. But we went on the teacups, and she just giggled and laughed the whole time. She was like 2 years old. No, she couldn't have been. She had to have been like 1.5 years. So, yeah, it was funny. But, yeah, so we're going to try to take him again. But it's an amazing time. And it's not even just for the kids. Like, you know.
Right, it's for you, too.
I know people that went on their honeymoon there.
Yeah, I know adults that go. I mean, it's kind of, listen, if you and I can't even say this because I have friends that go without kids. I think it's a little weird to go without a kid. I think you need to have at least one child with you to make it okay. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have the excuse of, oh, I'm here with my son and daughter, you know? It makes it a little bit better than just like, hey, I'm a 50-year-old guy that really likes The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, that's true. Yeah.
So, you guys have the built-in excuse, which is good. You get to be a fan, but have the kids be your cover.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you this: if my brother takes his girls to Disney, I want to go too. I want
See, there you go.
be
Exactly.
around my nieces and
Right. And then one day you're gonna have little freed men or freed women running around.
Yeah. Now, Vince, back to Mania. What are your plans as far as like what events you want to do?
I don't even care, man. I just like the fact that I'm gonna be fucking there.
Hold on. Don't say you don't care. If you're gonna go, you gotta go to NXT.
All right, you know what? That might be something.
NXT. Let me tell you something. NXT Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I watched that show.
Was one of the most incredible experiences I've been to a lot of live shows. I've been to a lot of Manias. I've been to a lot of SummerSlams and so on and so forth. I've been to a lot of shit in your house. I've been there. Okay.
In your house.
Oh yeah, I was there. But I will tell you, NXT Dallas was unbelievable. And it's not even because of pyro and shit. Like, it's the crowd, the energy of that place. And I mean, this time, listen, we got to see Nakamura's debut, which was insane. But overall, I mean, NXT, definitely go to TakeOver. It's worth it, and it's not that bad. I mean, I think we paid $60.
Yeah, that's not really that bad. I would probably, I mean, obviously, I'll get in. I want to go into WrestleCon, meet the OSW review guys because I've been listening to their podcast for fucking ever, and I don't know. It depends on what Ring of Honor and all those other guys are doing. I used to like old WrestleCon, man. Old WrestleCon, everybody got along and wanted to do things together. So, like, Dragon Gate and then Ring of Honor would be, like, the same day in the same venue. And now everybody wants to do their own thing. And, like, High Spots has their fucking deal, and Ring of Honor has their deal, and then WWN has their deal. And
it sucks for the fans because they make you pick and choose.
Exactly. And you don't really want to. That was the beauty of, in New York, that was the best convention I think I've ever been to. It ran, first of all, the High Spots guys work their ass off from the day after WrestleMania until the day of WrestleCon to pull that shit off, and they run it flawless, as perfect as you can get a live event like that. But in New York, they had half the venue curtained off, so the right side of the building was your vendors with your T-shirts and your memorabilia and your celebrities and your wrestlers that were taking autographs and pictures and shit. And then the left side was a goddamn wrestling venue that fit 500 people. Well, it was supposed to fit 500 people. It fit many, many more than that. But, they fit 500 people in it, and you'd have, like, the girls, like Shimmer and Shine, I think, or Glow, or somebody wrestled. One of the women's promotions wrestled a couple times that weekend. Dragon Gate had some shows. Ring of Honor had some shows. Chikara had a show. The best part about it was with WrestleCon, you bought like each promotion did their own tickets for their own wrestling shows, but they were only like $15 because you were already there at the venue.
Right.
So they didn't have to charge you like facility fees and custodian fees and all that other shit. They just charged you $15. It was a fucking flat $15, and you just got in and sat down, and everybody had a hell of a time. And like $5 wrestling was at midnight, and it was literally $5 to get in. And it was they projected the shit on the wall, and they talked shit. They did the commentary like they do, and then they had a live match. They had a live $5 wrestling match with Freight Train, which is always nice to see. So that was back in the day with WrestleCon. That was like the fucking peak. Man, that was wonderful. And then they did really, really well in New Orleans as well. Don't get me wrong. They fucking rocked the house in New Orleans. But I know that everybody's starting to branch off now and split off and do their own thing. And it's really unfortunate. And I don't know if it's money or ego. It's probably money, probably a little bit of both. Who knows? But, it's too bad. Why can't we all just get along, in the words of Rodney King?
I don't have much to compare it to because in Dallas was my first WrestleCon, but I had a great time.
Yeah. Oh no, and I'm sure you had a great. You probably had an awesome time, but
and I enjoyed it more than Access. Yeah,
and because Access, as much as they call it Access, if you go to WrestleCon, the wrestlers are a lot more accessible at WrestleCon.
Yeah, Access is so specific,
Yeah, and you have to be there at a certain time to catch a certain person.
WrestleCon was such an experience for me because I got Amber O'Neil and Jasmine St. Clair with me all day. I've got to my left Velvet Sky. Behind me is Victoria and Brooke Adams.
Yeah, you had a good spot.
You know what I'm saying? And then to the left of Victoria was One Man Gang,
Oh,
and then the Nasty Boys, and then
Lanny on the end.
right, and then we had Lonnie. We were like right there with everybody. Like diagonally across from me was Hunky Tonk Man. I stared at the Hunky Tonk Man all day. You know, like it was just, you know, it was an amazing experience, and Take Me a Date was, you know, doing their thing, but it was amazing.
wow.
It's an
then
experience.
the only thing though that was there a wrestling show there?
There wasn't a wrestling. There was a ring. There was no wrestling show there.
Okay.
The Hardys came out and did a Q&A.
Okay.
There were several Q&As, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there were a
sure.
few Q&As, and then all the wrestling stuff was later on at night.
Yeah, but I mean, like that was the thing. And back in the day, they'd have 6 different indie promotions doing shows that weekend, and you'd catch like a 2:00 show for $10. And you know, it was one of those things. Like I drove in from Connecticut to New Jersey on Friday afternoon, got to the hotel, and checked in, and it was like, oh hey, there's a fucking wrestling show at 5:00, and it's right there at the convention center across from the hotel. So I just walked from my hotel room to the convention center and paid like $10 or $15 and got to see like Dragon Gate USA. Sammy Callahan wrestled. Fucking,
That's awesome.
you know, all these guys. AR Fox wrestled. I think it was just a crazy number of guys who, if you looked at who wrestled back then for Dragon Gate, because they were considered, you know, they're still like the developmental for who is it? There's a bigger there's Dragon Gate, and then there's a smaller one from Dragon Gate. Whatever it was, there are those two that Gabe Sapolsky runs. Yeah, and so they kind of feed into each other. But it was good. It's really good to watch because you got to see guys who now are blew up and got drafted to NXT and stuff, or are working main roster. So it's always neat. You never know who you're going to see at a wrestling convention like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you can't, you know, if you're a person that has the funds or the means to go, and you want to go, fucking do it. It's worth the trip. Even if you don't go to WrestleMania, it's worth the trip. Right?
Yeah,
I think it's worth the trip.
100%. I mean, WrestleMania on its own is an experience.
Yeah.
And if you ever get the opportunity to go, you got to go. It's worth every single penny. You get your money's worth. Even if you're not happy with the actual, you know, shit that goes on, you're a part of history because you're just amongst so many thousands of other wrestling fans.
For us to be in that Dallas crowd, well, the record-breaking crowd was an incredible experience.
Yeah. And records are made to be broken, so they'll find somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, be a part of it. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we made it to the end of another successful edition of the War Report, gentlemen.
I believe so. That is it. It is time for Smackdown Live.
Absolutely. You folks have a nice time. We're going to be back live on